Hello and welcome to this week's Saturday Evening Cocktail. We're going back to the Smuggler's Cove textbook today. We're going to make the Captain's Grog. Now, what is a grog? A grog is really a loosely affiliated collection of rum drinks. Basically, they go back to a concoction of basically water and rum from the British Navy's, I think it was a Vice Admiral Vernon, when he commandeered a squadron out in the West Indies around 1740. He wore a coat of grogram cloth and was named Old Grog or Old Grogram, and from that his concoction of rum became called a grog, and that stuck apparently with the British Navy to this day for the most part. Water was rationed, but also on longer voyages it could get bacteria in it and that sort of thing. They knew it turned. So it was mixed with a little bit of rum, which was also rationed. And the grog, the traditional grog, was actually a 4-to-1 water to rum mixture. And you got a little bit more on days of celebration, and you got a little bit less if you were negligent in your duties, or if you were just overall a drunk. I think that was your 6-to-1 ratio, is what you got, which doesn't sound too appealing. There is a whole long history of this, which if I were to go on about it, I'd be going on for 20 minutes. It's really fascinating. Look it up. We're going to be going with a recipe that goes back to the Captain's Inn in Long Beach, and is provided to us from the Smuggler's Cove textbook. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm looking forward to this too. I've made a couple of small changes, just based on availability. Now, we're doing 2 servings of this, so I'm going to do 2 ounces of grapefruit juice. I'm going to do 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. And again, if you can fresh squeeze, particularly, the lime and the grapefruit, would be ideal. It actually calls for maple syrup as our sweetening agent, and we're going to need 1 ounce of that. So already I'm intrigued here. And looks like they grab a few more flavors, and they do it with extracts. Not something I do a lot of, but it calls for a few drops of vanilla extract, so we'll just delicately put a few drops of that in there. And same thing for some almond extract. So I am excited to see what sort of flavors this is going to bring about in our drink. Of course, my favorite, Velvet Falernum. We need 1 ounce of that. And again, a little bit more sweetness. And now the rum. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, dry curacao. We need 1 ounce of that. And now the rum we're going to talk about, because this particular recipe actually calls for 3 kinds of rum. It needs a black blended rum, an aged rum, and a lightly aged rum. Lightly aged rum, I'm going to do 2 ounces of that. Nice and clear. This has some great aroma to it. This is a Diplomatico rum. And I've got some more aged rum. This is El Dorado 12 year. This is a blend of different rums. Richer, maltier, and I'm going to do 2 ounces of that. So a little bit more than the recipe would call for, because I don't really have a black blended. I'm going to just even it out with some of the higher proof Goslings. So we're just going to do about 1/2 ounce of that, kick up the proof and the bite a little bit, because let's face it, these times I kind of call for it. I've got a shaker full of ice, and we're going to give this a good shake with all the sweeteners and everything together in here. Now, the recipe actually calls for it to be flash blended and open poured, sort of with a crushed ice consistency. I felt like just doing it like this, and I've got my Lewis bag here. I crushed some ice before I came down. So 2 glasses, and I washed my hands, so don't mind that. There we go. And let's pour and see what we got. You want to garnish this with some mint if you have any. I don't really have any. Nice color. Looks like something you could drink and see for sure. Let me pour a second one. You can see we made 2 servings, and just recipe calls for a little bit of seltzer just on top, kind of lengthen it out and sort of stick with that bit of that rum and water tradition that old Grog used. So, the Captain's Grog. Cheers. Wow, that is good. That has got all kinds of flavor. It's sweet, so it's a little tart. Really good. Just be careful with the grapefruit juice, of course. Everybody be safe. Have a good weekend. Go football. I pick the Bucks. I pick the Bills. I pick the Chiefs, and I pick the Rams. So that's what we got going on. Let's see if I'm right. Enjoy. We'll talk next week. Call the people you love.